Amazing. Salli, thank you so much for joining me on The Deal today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to jump into this question because, you and we've spoken before. Now, Hollywood is like it's a crazy place. Hollywood as what we've seen. I was talking to somebody recently who's a writer, and he told me Hollywood's not like it used to be. Now there's like everything switched to the streaming, and it's not so easy for the big shot actors to call in and just say, hey, I need you to do this for me. It's like now the corporations are bigger and all these other things. But you knew a different Hollywood even when you were off camera. So when you were growing up, who were some of your role models, the people that you looked up to and became your mentors possibly? And do you know of anything that you could share with us that they told you that was probably the biggest thing for your career?
Well, what's funny is I grew up in Chicago. None of my parents were really in the entertainment business. My mother worked in recording studios, and I think that's what first got, the bug for me as far as the business in any way, So I honestly had to find my way by myself and moved to LA by myself. Pretty much found, at the time I had a manager in Chicago who did help me get an agent in LA. But then once I went there, I just had to kind of stumble along by myself. And I think that would really probably be the big difference that there is now. There weren't a lot of people for me to look up to. There weren't a lot of people of color in the business as agents or managers or in powerful positions who were those people who could be my mentor. And the difference I see now are that there are more people kind of like now in the position that I am lucky to be in, who are there to be those voices. And that's what I've been able to do now, is that I can mentor a lot of new filmmakers, women and people of color coming up behind me because I'm now in place. And I didn't have that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's crazy. Like I would have thought that like somebody would have like came and took you on the wings. So you really had to grind. That's what you're telling me.
No, I didn't have anybody take me under their wings.
That's crazy.
There are many mistakes and wrong decisions I probably made, but I say that, but I personally say that some of those things was God protecting me from doing certain jobs or saving me. Like there are some big acting jobs that I probably turned down or didn't get, but if I had gone in that direction, I may not have found what my true purpose is as far as work and being the director, because I would have been too far over here and not going in this direction. So I just kind of follow, the path that's in front of me and see what happens.
Amazing. I think we're on the same page with that one for sure. So talk to me about one of my favorite movies that I know I reference a lot when you and I talk about, Low Down Dirty Shame. Now, I've always had this question, like when you're watching other people get interviewed and you're like, how come they don't ever ask this question? So my question is, working obviously with Keenan Ivory Wayans and anybody from that family is just nuts, right? Now, this is one of my favorite movies growing up. I'm trying to think about like being on set like that. Now you've done both comedies and drama, romances, everything you've done. So how hard is it to keep a straight face on set when you got people that are just complete clowns on the other end? Like how much film are you wasting while you're doing these films? I want to know.
I definitely, with those guys and some other films that I've been in, you get comedians in a room, and a lot of times some of the bit parts, he would hire comedians, in those spots too, and they just start going. So there's definitely some wasted time. and Keenan was always brilliant and always, obviously it's been a long time, but he always encouraged you to come up with lines and change things on the spot because he wants that funny there, and that, sometimes that's in the spontaneity of it. But I had a great time. That film was, kind of probably my second or third biggest job in LA. And I was still, when I look back at it now, I was still a kid and just enjoying the ride. And it's still, I still have memories to know exactly where I was on certain days. And it was a big deal for me at the time.
Talk about the fighting scene though. How many times, like when you're on set, okay, so if you're not laughing every 5 seconds, which I
Right.
could, I mean, I'm just I got an easy funny bone. So when at the time when you're doing the sparring and the fighting, my question is at that point, how many times like you get slugged up in the middle of it, or you accidentally hit somebody, or is there really just a stunt scene going on and we really think people are fighting and it's not happening?
Well, it's definitely really a stunt scene. But Jade and I
Uh-huh.
did that fight scene. We had doubles, but we were, we were young enough at the time and game enough and
Right.
athletic enough that we were able to do those scenes together, and we did the fight scenes together. So
Right.
I would say, I mean, it's been a long time. I'm sure they brought the doubles in for a second, but most of that scene is me and Jada doing it. Even when she like
Wow.
flips me over by my hair, I think at some point, that was me. And we didn't hit
Right.
each other, and obviously it is over and over, because when you're doing a fight scene, you have different camera angles, which means a different
Right.
setup. There's a mat on the floor so that you can fall on that, and then they fake it on the ground. But that was
Mm-hmm.
me and Jada. We did that.
It's amazing. So nobody got hurt. You say nobody got hurt in the
Nobody
process.
got, maybe just some
Nobody got
feelings, but
right.
but nobody got hurt physically.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So that brings me to my next question. So the Alec Baldwin case is all over media.
Right.
Everybody's talking about this crazy case. When you hear of stuff like this in your industry, does it like scare you? Has it changed the way people are doing things? Like right now you're in production, I'm sure, on a bunch of different things. Like has everybody stopped and said, hey, we got to figure some things out?
Well, I'm right now, I just finished shooting this show for HBO, which
Hmm.
is about the Lakers in the
Right.
80s. And we
Yeah.
just had a gun sequence, and two of them. But,
Wow.
you know, um, there was protocol that was not followed. And I've
Right.
been doing this a long time. And when they bring a gun on set, it's announced that it's on the set. Anybody who has
Hmm.
to be around the gun, the prop guy comes up, he opens it, he shows you nothing's in there. Our prop guy would show you, put it up in the air, the boom, 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 to just let you know that nothing's coming out of it, that he
Mm.
can go through all
Mm.
the rounds. Everyone looks into it. So you feel
Wow.
comfortable. Like we had one time the gun, he was trying to do the fake, like just do it to make sure, and it jammed because we had
Hmm.
a lot of times the reason why they have things in the chamber is that if you're really tight on the gun, some smart person, you know how people really watch and pick stuff out, you can tell if there's no rounds in there, even if they're supposed to be
Right.
fake. So
Right.
because it looks empty. So that's
Right.
why they usually put stuff in there so that it looks
Mm.
real.
Right.
But we were having a problem. It was jamming, even though it wasn't anything in it. And the guy was like, nope, we just took everything out. I'm like, if it looks empty, it looks empty. I don't care. We're not going to
Right.
have any issues. So I just think there was some really bad protocol that was not followed. And I don't know what the changes were going to be.
Hmm.
But people made big mistakes,
Right.
big and uncaring mistakes, you know?
Right.
It,
Right.
it just
Right.
sounds
Right.
like like people just were not
Being
focused.
negligent.
They were being negligent and not and worried about being fast and just cavalier, sorry,
Cavalier.
cavalier with protocols and people's safety, and somebody's going to pay for it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, does it, at this point, it doesn't sound like, from what you just told me, it doesn't seem like people have to like make some new precautions, but you're saying it's pretty much standard. This is what people do on set anyway when there's a gun. So there should never be any need. The only thing you need to make sure is that protocol continues to happen. So it's not going to change the way
Yeah.
that you guys are filming anything now.
I mean, maybe they'll come up with new things. I was just reading an article. People wonder why they actually use real guns instead of
Right.
fake guns, because we do so much stuff that's fake.
Hmm.
So usually when you're in rehearsal, there is a fake gun. They give you a fake one so that you can do whatever it has, it's close enough. The thing is, the reason why they bring a real one in is that the fake one looks fake.
Right.
It doesn't have the same shine. It doesn't have the metal to it. It's a completely different look. And that's, though I'm sure at some point they should be able to replicate a real looking gun that's not real, that doesn't actually work,
Right.
But,
Got it. So you've been in the entertainment industry now for a long time. We're not gonna say how long, but
it's been a while.
It's been a while, right? Take me through the journey and that process from coming from on the screen to off the screen, and like, how does that feel? A while back I was interviewing one of my really good friends, Amari Stoudemire, right? So he goes from being on the court to now being a coach behind the court, and almost doing it at a time when you're like, man, I could still ball. You know what I mean? I could still get out there and I can ball. And obviously, you don't lose acting skills. So I want to know what that transition is like. And do you sort of feel like, man, I can still lace up my cleats, or,
It's funny.
I want to know.
When I started directing and really focusing that, I'm going to take some time off and really jump completely into directing, because I felt that was the best way for me to learn as much, to move quickly up the ranks, to doing the kind of shows that I wanted to do, and for people to really take me serious, that it wasn't something I was trying to dabble in. But I didn't really know that this path I had started was going to stop me from acting. In my mind, I was like, because I was on a show at the time, I'll act half of the year, and then, the other 6 months of the year, I'll direct. But directing just picked up so much for me. All of a sudden, I look at 5 years later, and the only thing that I've acted in is that if I was directing something and there was a part, I was like, I'll just do it. So I say that to, do I still, do I still want to act? I think I still have the bug a bit.
Right.
The more I'm around really amazing talent, and on some of these shows, like these shows that I'm working on for HBO, they're written so well. The caliber of the show is just everything I would ever want to do. That makes me more hungry for it. But I do, and maybe that'll happen again, right? But I love to direct. I found the thing that I am really, really good at. And other people seem to agree with me. So,
obviously.
But one day,
HBO deal comes with it. Okay.
But one day I'll act in something again. The right thing will come, and I figure I've started to put that energy out into the world. Sometimes once you start putting it out there and praying on it, it'll come to you if it's supposed to.
Exactly. Which leads me also to my next question.
Okay.
So how do you incorporate that, the faith and religion, to your everyday life? So, like, Hollywood always seems to be like it's the opposite of faith and everything else. Just is what it is. Call a spade a spade. And every once in a while you'll get a hearts. But the question is like, how do you do that through your life and your career? You have a family. Has it doubled your faith? Has it lessened your faith? Tell me how you're able to incorporate both of them.
Well, I don't think that I could have made it through this industry without faith, because you have to have faith, or because it breaks you down so much, when you're not working, when things aren't going your way. If you don't have, for me personally, if you don't have some sort of grounding in your life and accountability, and that's what God is for me, it's accountability. And knowing that, like I said before, some of the things I didn't get, some of the paths I thought I should be on, and that there was a plan for me. God, and I have, and luckily I have very good friends who have the same sort of faith. So they're like, Salli, that's not God's plan for you. I know you're upset. That's not God's, and maybe God's plan for you is in 10 years. And so I just take my time the first few no's are just the first few no's, but the right no's, I mean, the right yes is going to happen.
Right.
I also am very lucky to have been with my husband and I have been together 24 years. I have 2 kids. I know that's like 100 years here. But, you know, that keeps me grounded. I'm a mom,
Right.
right. I'm a wife. And
Right.
at the end of the day, when I come home, that is the most important thing. The things I do love what I do, and it does, help feed our family. But at the end of the day, I come home. Like my last show, I've been here in town, which has been fabulous. What do? I wake up early. I make like a crock pot dinner or something, or I bake chicken early. I get food ready for everyone before I leave.
Salli Whitfield cooks, ladies and gentlemen. Do you hear that? She cooks.
And
That's crazy.
I cook a lot. My son requires it. Mom, are you gonna make me some eggs before I leave? And because especially when I'm home, I jump in full on, take care of everyone in the house. Like this morning before I did this, I'm like, honey, can you drop the laundry down? Let me get a load in before I do this. And
live a normal life. You're a normal person is what you're telling me.
Completely normal. There are no housekeepers. I mean, there is a housekeeper every once in a while, but there are no maids doing the everyday stuff. Mom is doing it. Mom is doing the shopping. Mom's doing all of that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So everything is you. It's a beautiful thing to hear because, I've had friends who've gone into the entertainment industry and they don't come back the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to hear that's very, very encouraging. So who have been some of your favorite people that you work with, either as, first off, like what's your favorite role that you played? What's the favorite character that you played?
I would say as far as acting, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've done it yet, honestly.
You know what? You're still in my lines. I'm starting to think you're still in my lines because every time somebody asks me what's your favorite song, I say it's a song I haven't made yet, and that's I'm starting to think you're taking some things out of my playbook over here. That's amazing.
Well, but I think that's because we both understand that we have more to give, and we haven't done our best. I think as far as acting for me, I wish I had had the kind of director that I am with people. And I think that I may have, I was always a very good actress. But I think there's still greatness in me to be had. And I don't necessarily think I was given those roles to be the best actress that I could be. So I don't think that's there yet. And then what's funny is, as far as directing, it really becomes, every show that I've been doing has gotten bigger and bigger and kind of becomes my new favorite thing, which is, just finished, like the last 2 shows I just finished for HBO. It's the Lakers show and then the Gilded Age, which is, completely different. It's, it's 80s LA, and then the other one is late 1800s New York. Couldn't be more different. Couldn't be completely different challenges. But both really amazing, huge projects, learned so much. So right now I'd say those are my biggest projects. But then right before we got on, I was looking at the trailer for the Wheel of Time that I did right before that for Amazon. And I remembered what a fantastic time I had doing that. So, I think that, every new one is the best one. Unless I could tell, and I wouldn't even tell you the ones that I hated because I don't like to say that kind of stuff. But there's been a few that I'm like, wouldn't be going back there.
Listen, you wouldn't be great at what you did if you didn't have that also too. You have to take both the good and the bad. Now, thinking about that, because you've been on both sides of it, right? The question is now, do you see now a whole bunch of things that maybe you wish, like you're telling me, I wish that I was a director, or I had a director like me. Now that you are a director like you, are you able to fill in those spots? Do you see like, I made this mistake before. Now that I'm older, I'm wiser, I can tell this actor what to do and what not to do. You feel like it helped you in a sense?
Well, there are definitely some actors, and I would say mostly offset when I see that they're having certain issues on set. Just say simple things about being late. I can tell, certain attitudes that'll happen on set. People that I think may have some sort of substance problems. I will, especially if they're younger guys, I'll pull them over to the side and go, hey, these are your responsibilities. This is what you should be looking for. This is what you should not be doing. And this is going to jeopardize the rest of your life. And so I do pull people to the side and have those kind of conversations, because I feel like even if it's not even if I'm just a guest director and not like it's not something I'm actually producing to, I do think that is my role. And I'm there to help people along this path. As far as, the one thing that I think that I do really well at is that I can see people's performances, and I know when you've given me everything, and I don't stop until I get the performance that I'm looking for. Now, there's some people who at a certain point you go, that's the best they're going to be. But, but there's some people, even the really brilliant people who've been around a long time, sometimes even those people, because they're so good, they can kind of phone it in. And and other people will think it's great and it's good. But I'm looking going, I don't believe you yet. I don't believe you in my gut. You're not making me feel a real emotion while watching you, because you're going through the motions. And they're good motions, but they're not brilliant yet. And and I'm good at pushing even the biggest people, I think.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I have to ask this question. Okay. What was it like working alongside Will Smith and the legendary cast for I Am Legend? I have to know about this. Will's just one of my favorite characters. He's just always been a character. I was like the biggest fan of Fresh Prince, Bel-Air when I was a kid, as we all were, right? But like, what was it like working with that cast?
Well, Will, we all know each other, because we all were here in LA coming up together. So I knew Will when he was the Fresh Prince, before he was, Will Smith. So, and Jade and I, obviously, they did Low Down together. So they were married. So, it's almost like going to work with some friends. But Will is who you see on camera and in interviews. He's a generous, really nice man. And no attitude, no rudeness to people on the set, and willing to try anything, and takes his craft very seriously. So it really is, it is what you see. A good guy, no issues, best time, still the biggest movie I've ever done. I remember there was the sequence when we're going to get on the helicopter where me and my daughter die in it. And there were so many extras out there. And I just remember it was the first time I was like, whoa, I'm in a movie, Yeah. So, it was that's all I can say. Just great guy.
That's amazing. I know. I love when I'm on the set and it's like it makes you like feel bigger than life when you got the big. Most of the videos I'm not doing that. It's me and a few people and whatever. But when you could go and it's funny, like, we go shoot sometimes in Ukraine, because you can get like everything for like $2 over there, right? So there's somebody iron the clothes. It was like a beautiful thing. My question is, though, even with all of that, specifically, let's talk about that scene and scenes like it where you have to die and stuff, right? Is that like, do you ever think about, because all the time in my head, I always think about, I'm referencing back to music, like Biggie and Tupac used to talk about death all the time and then they died. So I always look at it, music is also too a form of acting. You have to get in a role play in order to portray and to be able to give over. Does that ever like make you think like, I don't want to do a lot of dying scenes, you know what I mean? Is that something like you think about? Like, I don't know, it's just a question. Or it's just like,
no, there's no, I never think it's going to be some correlation in my life. They talked about dying, and then they were doing stuff off camera that would make you die. When I leave my fake acting scene, I'm going home and I'm making dinner. I'm not calling up people making beef so that I'll get shot later. No, I'm not worried about it, because I am doing nothing to manifest that future.
Got it. I just didn't know if it was like super thing.
No. They messed themselves up.
leave it all on
Yeah.
the guy. So,
Yeah.
okay. So before we go, do you have like any role models now? You said you didn't have a lot when you were coming up in the game, but like people that now, whether it's in culture, media, acting, or even someone who nobody's ever heard of before, that has really helped you. I mean, you got to have some mentors at some point in the game,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. There have been many directors
Mm-hmm.
who have helped me out tremendously once I was ready to start directing. There's a director called Eric Lonaville,
Mm-hmm.
who Black director he's done hundreds of hours of TV. So when I was the first time I was ready to direct, I called him and said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, can I shadow you? Which is, like basically he becomes my mentor. I follow him around on the set 24/7, and he taught me.
Right.
So
That's amazing.
him, another director, Scott, and then this I'm trying to think. There's a few other people who have now become friends
Mm-hmm.
who I like. If you look at Mara Brockakeel,
Mm-hmm.
who did all the Girlfriends shows,
Right.
Debbie Allen,
Wow.
who, these people are now my friends, but are also
Right.
the people that I look up to. There's directors like Millicent Shelton, who's a Black female director that you wouldn't necessarily know by name, but
Mm-hmm.
she's one of those women who paved the way for me to be doing the amount of episodes that I'm doing now. So there's a
Wow.
lot of people behind the scenes that once I started on this new path were definitely there. And I can still call them now. If I got in a
Wow.
situation, didn't know what to do, I can call any of these people. Kevin Hooks. I mean, like a lot of people of
That's
color,
amazing.
directors that people don't know who are there to help me.
That's
And not people
amazing.
of
That's
color,
amazing.
other directors. It's not, I have a huge community. I have a wide rainbow of people who I've worked with who are
Right.
willing to sit there and help me. So I don't want it to think like it doesn't have to be someone Black that I call. And sometimes it isn't. I
Right.
have really a wide range of beautiful people who've been wonderfully supportive to me.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Salli. I appreciate having you on.
Thank
It's good
you.
to
I
speak with you
appreciate it.
again
Thank you for
and,
having me.
and sharing your wonderful career with us. And I wanna we say bench you, but I wanna bless you that you should continue to go to new heights and put out amazing content that inspires so many different people in the world. And you should have much satisfaction. You should have a home that is full of peace. We say shalom bayit. You should have shalom bayit. You should have great gratification from your kids, and every single blessing in the book, it should be in your way. So
Well,
thank you
bless
so
you
much.
too. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank,
much.